Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and Mazal Tov to Jaden and your family. And it's really great to be all together here on this rainy Saturday. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got to experience a true priceless moment that goes along with the credit card commercials. As we drove to Rhode Island to pick up our new puppy, Clara. When we arrived, I literally took out my credit card to charge the bill as my two daughters picked up Clara for the first time with smiles and tears dripping down their face, tears of true love and true joy. And so for me, the price that I was paying at the credit card was nothing compared to the priceless moment of seeing them bond with their new dog. But then, of course, as we got home, real life began. We read a lot before we picked Clara up about how to train her and how to take care of an 8-week-old puppy. But we quickly found out that most of that advice is just advice, not true and hard facts. They said you should try to feed your puppy only 3 times a day and to lock her in her crate at night. We quickly discovered she needed more than 3 meals, sometimes 4, even 5. And we learned from the vet that was quite okay. And that first night, as we tried to lock her in her crate, she peed on her bed. We want her to make sure that it feels like a home in her crate. But also it seemed that she did not like to be contained in this small space. So we quickly thought of a way to build a pen around her crate and to leave her door open. We were afraid that this was going to not make her crate feel like home. But 2 weeks later, we still do the pen, and she's sleeping in her crate just fine. The guidelines, many of them we have to follow. We have to put on our masks. We have to stay distant. But what about seeing someone outside? What if I'm not distant? And what if I'm not so close to somebody? Do I have to have my mask on? How many people are we allowed to see? Is it 10? Is it 25? Can we have curbside? Do we feel safe going to the supermarket? It is very clear that we are literally entering into a new normal, one that's going to be nothing like it was before the COVID crisis began. And just as taking home a new puppy or a new baby, there are rules that you have to follow. There's also a time that we can have different interpretations. In Judaism, we call Jewish law halakha. Halakha means a path, walking along a path. Sometimes the path is very narrow and you have to follow stringent rules. Sometimes the path is a little wider. Sometimes there are forks so we can go different ways. I think in this new normal, we'll say we have a medium-sized path. We can sometimes go this way, sometimes go that way, depending on our own feelings, depending on the needs that we have, and perhaps the risk that either we are allowed to tolerate or can tolerate ourselves. That is going to be the new normal. The one thing that we need to have, that I had when I took home my daughters 12 and a half years ago, and that my daughters and I experienced when we took home Clara 2 weeks ago, is that what is needed is patience and love for one another. If we are patient, with Clara, she'll learn to love her crate, and she'll learn to do her business outside, which she is doing quite a bit. And when she makes a mistake, we don't yell at her. We try to educate. And that should be the same thing that we do when we go about our business outside. If you see someone with their mask a little bit lower, like I did at a supermarket a couple weeks ago, don't yell at them and say, you must put your mask on. You can't smile because your mask is on. But say in a smiling tone of voice, sir, ma'am, I would appreciate if you would bring your mask up a little bit to cover your nose and your mouth. Educate. Who knows why that mask slipped down? Maybe he got sweaty. Maybe he had an itch his nose. We don't know. But it's better to have patience and love. I saw a sign on Facebook from a store referring to this new normal. And it said, be humble, be authentic to oneself, and be perceptive, and be patient. I think that is what is going to be needed for this new normal. Temple Israel's leadership has our guarantee that we are going to do our best to keep all of us safe as we adapt to this new normal. We don't know quite exactly what the guidelines are going to be, what path we are going to take. But you have our guarantee that we are going to be patient and have love for one another. And we are going to be humble for what we are going to do in order to be safe. We just began the book of Bemidbar. Literally means in the wilderness. And it has felt like these last 2 months has been a wilderness. And it might feel like that we don't know when the end will be. What is our destination? But after 40 years, and trust me, I do not think it's going to be 40 years for us, the Israelites did arrive at their destination. They did go into the promised land. So as we navigate this wilderness with God's protection, just like the Israelites had, have the confidence, have the hope that together we will arrive at the promised land, and hopefully to do so with health and wholeness, knowing that we did our best to keep everyone healthy throughout this journey. Amen.